here. That link, it'll take it directly there. Peace. Ready? Peace, family. I want to say good morning to everyone out there, and thank you for giving me a part of your day this morning. I know we just coming off of for those that celebrate Thanksgiving, and I definitely hope that everyone had a safe and enjoyable time with their family. This morning, I definitely want to welcome Brother William Freeman here. The brother is under the weather a little bit, but he soldiered through. He came through, and definitely appreciate the brother coming through and just blessing us with his experience as we talk about relationships 101 from incarceration to intimacy. But before I begin, I definitely want to definitely say to y'all who was tuning in this morning, definitely I want you to subscribe to the bullpen. What you like and want to share with your friends, because definitely something's going to be said here each and every time that we come before you and addressing issues that pertaining to men who've been incarcerated, their families, their relationship, their children, and the community as a whole. So with that said, brother Hussein, as I know the brother Hussein, I love this brother. Brother Baby talk a little bit about himself, but just want to talk briefly about how I met the brother. Um, I met the brother when I was going into MCIJ, the Maryland Correctional Institute of Jessup, and when it was going as a volunteer side of the program. And the brothers inside the institution was having, as many institutions have, they have rehabilitative type programs set aside for and just bringing brothers together and trying to engage them in a way that help them not only when they're doing their time, but helping them say begin to just one find out about themselves, make better decisions about themselves, and utilizing their time in a way that would allow them to be productive, say while they're in the system, at the same time making that transition from thinking in one particular way and becoming more productive minded citizen, as you would say. So I met this brother along with other brothers. Y'all those who tuned in with the first conversation met brother Bakari. So this was the other brother that I met. It's a beautiful brother, strong brother, very intelligent brother. And I'm very fortunate that the brother embraced me, that when I came into the system, and me and the brother been building ever since. So I would say probably about 2 or 3 years or more when we first met. And the brother and I, we got some time in together. So, but definitely the brother got a beautiful story. And I'm gonna let the brother tell you a little bit about himself.
Yeah, so yeah, I wasn't gonna miss this one, even though I was feeling a little itchy. The brother used to come in, like he said, he was coming in fresh out of prison himself.
Yeah.
Not too long removed from prison, he was coming in and sitting in a circle with us with a youth challenge and helping us to unpack some of the traumas that we had experienced as young people, and then as incarcerated people, and then as people of color. They all have their experiences. And yeah, like you said, my name is William Freeman. I go by Hussein, and served 21 years. And then my initial sentence was life plus 20, all suspended, but 35 years without the possibility of parole. Served 21 years on that before going to court and being released. A judge released me back into society. So that's the prison side of it. While incarcerated, I got involved in higher education, college behind the wall through Goucher. Goucher has a program, Goucher's Prison Education Partnership. Got involved with them, earned 73 credits, was released, and then transferred to the main campus, earning my bachelor's degree in sociology and anthropology in 2020. Um, but as you know, we were in the middle of a pandemic, so we didn't get to walk until this year, 2021. And I was selected as the commencement speaker, and that was an experience. And now I'm in grad school. I go to Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, seeking a master's degree in public health. Um, I guess as we talk, we'll get into
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
That's like the big things, right?
Yes, sir. But no, but definitely, as the brother shared with you, the brother talked about his experience right behind the wall in terms of just wanting to put himself in a situation, begin to educate himself, through Goucher College program. So definitely want to send out a shout out to Goucher College for having the vision to go inside, say, the institutions and offer the men and women there an opportunity, to earn their bachelor's degree, as well as the brother having the fortitude and the courage, because unfortunately, a lot of brothers inside the institution, they don't always make that decision. But the brother definitely saw that where that would be a benefit. Education would be a benefit to himself and what he was trying to do once. And that was one of the things that attracted me to the brother, because I saw the brother, not only was he was a stand-up guy, but the brother mindset. And that's one of the key things we want to talk about this morning when we talk about relationships, relationship one-on-one, from incarceration to intimacy, is that even though when we're incarcerated, we have this idea about how what we think relationship is, and it's based upon our experience prior, say, to going inside of prison. And while we are there, then we, of course, we formulate ideas about relationship, whether it's something we see on television, what's in the music, and we begin to formulate ideas about relationship, what it should look like, how it should be. But the true test comes once we're released. And briefly, I'm just talking a little bit about my experience that I learned about relationship, about intimacy, that wasn't known to me when I was released. November the 21st this past year, I've been out for 27 years. But I liken that to when you think about someone who having an addiction. They always tell them, you take it a day at a time, you work it one day at a time. So when I think about transitioning from prison back into, we say, mainstream society, we say, to the free world, for me, I approach it whereas it is a daily job, a daily experience that I constantly work on, because I have 33 years on the criminal side of life, and only 27 years, I say, on the productive citizen side of life. So I still have more time on the criminal side of life than I have being productive citizen. So for me, I have to approach it daily, where every morning when I get up, the transition for me, it is a daily responsibility. But when I went to prison as a young person, I went in and was within a relationship. The relationship was definitely not at a good place. I went in and at 25 years old, having two young children. At the time, my girlfriend was 24 years old. So I went in during the time, even though I was 25, but I was still immature in a lot of ways. So chronologically, I was 25, but I would say in terms of relationship, I probably was around 16 or 17 years old. And when I look back now, in terms of things that I was doing, how I was engaging with, my girlfriend at the time and raising my kids. So I definitely wasn't responsible enough to be a father. I definitely wasn't responsible enough, say, to be in an adult relationship. But for me, so I was operating again, see, from a physical, from a physical place, not necessarily as an emotional, intimate place. So when I went in as a 25-year-old chronologically, but emotionally, and I would say even psychologically as a teenager, once I got behind that wall, all that froze, because psychologists, they talk about that when you're separated, say, from a relationship, whether it's through trauma, through tragedy of some kind, that emotional state, you stay frozen within that place. So when I went inside this a male environment, so now all of my socialization experiences in terms of intimacy, conversation, growth, that came by way of relating to men and women being absent from that unnatural environment. So even so, fast forwarding that, once I was released at 37 years old, going into 25, coming to 37 years old, even though chronologically I was 37 years old, but I was still operating in my mind. It was unbeknownst to me that from a very immature place. And it took, at the time, my girlfriend, who was older, with 36 at the time, to point out to me, and these are her exact words. She said, "Why don't you give yourself time? You've been gone a long time. Give yourself time." But again, in my immaturity, I disregarded that. I rushed into it. I said, "No, I'm ready. I've been gone a long time. I really didn't give myself time." When I came home, I got out in November of '94, November 21st, 1994, January 21st, 1995. I got married 3 months after being gone for almost 12 years. So I wasn't ready for a marital. That's my experience. But in reflecting on that, I've had so many conversations with brothers and sisters who said that they don't understand their relationship partner they're in. The relationship partner they're in with is because there's something missing. Something doesn't feel right. And I know what they're saying is, and I say, so one of the things I talked about is that when a brother come over, he should give himself time. And we're going to get into the reason why he should give himself time, but he definitely should give himself time, particularly if he's been gone for a very long period of time, because his emotional state was really arrested once he went in. So if he went in 18 and came out at 40 something, in a lot of ways, his level of intimacy, of understanding, is at a very immature. Now, he's a man, aspect of him as a man. I mean, so a lot of times what a sister sees is you see a 6'3" man standing before her. You know, he's cut up, he chills real nice. You say, okay, you know, that's a shiny prince. But emotionally, intellectually, psychologically, I'm saying he's functioning at a very immature level because he haven't had that socialization with a female. His socialization has been in an all-male environment. So there's some experiences there that really he needs to identify, like myself at the particular time, that I did not identify because again I was coming from I would say a immature place, and at the time, say my girl pointed that information out to me, so I learned the hard way. So what ended up happening was rushing into a relationship. I've been going for 12 years, getting married within 3 months of the being out, separating from her 6 months later and ultimately divorcing her. So I hurt her twice through my action, through my immaturity, through not really paying attention. So now I've gained the insight, having again to go back and reflect on what was going on, why did I make those decisions, and that was one of the reasons why I wrote the book Transition Therapy, to talk about that experience and pointing out to sisters and brothers in relationships. I talks about that I recommend that a brother coming out of prison, and no, and this may not for everyone, but I recommend at least a brother should get himself at least anywhere from 2 to 3 years, because he really needs to understand and reflect on what prison has done to him, what his experience has been like, and how that has impacted his growth and development. So, Brother Hussein, so when you came home, obviously I think you're married, if I'm not mistaken. You know you have a child and everything. But I want to talk a bit about your experiences and some of the challenges that you recognize, that when you, as well as what your queen recognized. I remember you sharing the story with me. I don't want to tell the story, but I remember you sharing the story with me when the queen, that you said something to your queen. The queen brought your attention about pretty much the ownership of who she was, and that and how the relationship was going to work. There were certain things that you had to acknowledge. So talk a little bit about your experiences, kind of in terms of, we would say, what have been maybe some of the successes, what some of the challenges.
Right, for sure. So I mean, I could say similar things to the first part of what you said, because I got married in prison first.
Okay.
And again, I went to prison at 19, and I want to say, you spoke about being 19 going to prison, and so your emotional development, your psychological development was 19. I'm gonna say because I had bought into this false reality, right, about what life was, that I was actually 15.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Chronologically,
Yeah.
I was 19 going to prison, but like relationships, I didn't have one with my father. Working on that now. The one with my mother was more or less like a friend relationship than it was a mother-son. So not only was I 19, facing the rest of my life in prison, I was very immature at 19, but I didn't want to be alone, right?
Right.
So even though I was physically in a male environment, I can't recall doing a full year in 21 years without female companionship.
Gotcha.
And so it wasn't based on like relationship. It wasn't based on what I needed as a young man at the time. It was based on what I needed in general to survive prison.
Gotcha.
While for her, she was giving me something different. She was never incarcerated. My ex-wife now, like you, well, not like you. They're gonna be different. But she was a nurse and had graduated college. Again, I was a 19-year-old kid thinking like I was 15 in prison, running around trying to be with the who's in prison.
Right.
Instead of realizing what I had allowed to be done to myself, I was trying to emulate like success in prison by getting visits, getting packages, taking pictures, and groping her in public so people could see it. It was kind of like this pimp Mac mentality that I had, and I married her because I knew that she was in love with me. I didn't even know what that meant.
Right.
And so as I started, she did I want to say 13 years of that with me. Man, she did 13 years with me. But as I began to near the fence, my needs were changing. And again, they weren't based on me being, at the time, when I got released, I was 40 years old. It wasn't based on me being a 40-year-old man. It was based on me being a 19-year-old kid with a 15-year-old mentality. Like, what are my needs? What were my needs? It was clothes. I wanted money. Like, I wanted a really fast fix to freedom and relationship. So as I neared the fence, I'm sending all kinds of demands and requests. Get me this, get me that, have this ready, have that ready. And and she was like, well, are you gonna worry about what I might need? You know what I mean? I'm like, man, look, I ain't got time for that.
Right.
And again, a 15-year-old would think about their own needs because there's levels to there's being dependent as a baby up until natural progression. You grow out of that state, then you become independent, and then the ultimate is interdependency when you know your place in the realm around you, right? Like so, there's like that spiritual connection I have with everything, even inanimate objects. But I didn't have that.
Right.
I just knew this woman had did this time with me and had did everything I set up to point. And so my demands were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I remember, like, this is so crazy because I remember getting the letter that I was ready to go to court to see if they were going to take my time back, and then calling her and telling her I wanted her to go and run her credit on a Lexus. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was a homeowner. She had a car note. She had health insurance. Like, I didn't know, I wasn't paying attention to none of those finances. Like, that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And I didn't just want her to go run a credit for a Lexus. Like, I wanted an LS 460.
Right. Certainly.
With this leather. And this package.
Right. Right.
And here's this woman doing these things that I'm needing her to do because she feels like he deserves that as a man, as a king. Again, I'm claiming kingship. I'm claiming manhood. But I'm walking in manhood as I understand it in the yard.
Right, that's right.
So as I understand it on the compound. So the way I understood manhood in the yard is keep my back protected.
Right, right.
Don't blink.
Right.
Don't show weakness.
Right.
Always be like I'm, surrounded by folks so people don't feel like they could just approach me, right? Like they could just make a move. And again, it's a really animal-based, testosterone charged way of thinking about manhood.
Right.
But as we know, it's totally void. It's trying to cut off your emotions.
Right.
Trying not to feel.
Right.
Because you might have to make a decision to be at odds with someone who you once called an acquaintance.
Right. Right.
And I say acquaintance because we were slow to say friends. And
right. That's right.
Everybody had an agenda. But again, I get out. Was released to a drug program, and she was excited to come see me, and I was excited to be getting the package.
Right. Yeah. That's real, bro. That's real.
So
man. Yeah.
She pulls up, and I watch the counselors go out and help her bring the stuff in. And more than anything, I'm wondering, did she get the Under Armour jacket? Did she get the Air Max that I showed her, the 9.5s? Did she do these things, or did she fail me? And again, I'm not even, here I am married 12 years. I was with her about 10 months. And the only reason we didn't get married sooner was because I was on lockup when we started talking and sending out letters trying to, and I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It's this, I hurt her.
Right.
I hurt her, and ultimately I didn't just hurt her. I hurt her mother. I hurt her family. You know what I mean? And there's a ripple effect.
Right. Exactly. Right? Exactly.
And so they come in the door, and I'm checking the bags, and she's standing there, Muslim, covered, obedient, back straight, frankincense on, and waiting for her king to acknowledge her. And I'm like going through the stuff, and I'm like, man, this ain't my size.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed to say I sent her back with. In a relationship with a person who's on the other side, like a female who's never been to prison.
That's right.
So, of course, it's no secret. We were going to be, she would give me an ultimatum. And me thinking like I'm free, I'm a man, no concept. And again, I had college credits. I had read books. I had written essays. I had debated. I had debated some of the smartest minds in the courtyard, played chess and beat some of the, the men that had been there 40 years. So it's not like I'm not intelligent, but intelligence has little to do with that connection in a relationship. That's not something you learn from reading. That's something you learn through progressing.
Come on, bro.
Through age without being interrupted.
Come on.
And interruption can happen at a multitude of levels, right? It could be drugs and alcohol. It could be a broken family. It could be like in our case, going to prison and a broken family and drugs and alcohol. Right?
Yes.
And so we got a divorce, and I'll never forget the day like we went to the court. She was like, I don't want this. Right? She was like, I don't want this, Poppy. Right. And I'm like, man, again, I still had not. I'm what 5 months removed from a 21-year sentence, trying to figure out what life is like.
Right. That's right.
Much less trying to accept the fact that I don't know what it takes to be in a relationship with a grown woman.
That's it. That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
I know how to have sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know how to do this Pimp Daddy Mac vibe thing and feel like, I'm the king based on me being the one with the penis.
Right.
Based on this European model of domination, right? That's built off of pornography.
Right.
So I know how to, enter a bedroom and hopefully do enough to her where I can get her howling and all that. But like that's intimacy. That's not even intimacy.
Right. Yeah.
That's acting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you, as we embrace intimacy is a lot less hurtful and a lot more inviting, right? But we got a divorce, and I don't think I was divorced 2 days. I had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend going through the divorce.
Yeah.
And I decided to move in with this woman, right? And like I had options, I didn't. I had some money that I saved up with her help, with the first woman's help. And again, I'm moving with this woman, and again, it's about my needs.
Right.
She had a daughter and a son in the household, and all I could think about again was what I was gonna need to be comfortable since I did the time.
Right. That's it.
And needing everybody to understand what it meant to be system impacted or formerly incarcerated. Now, mind you, again, the backdrop in all of this is that I'm now commuting to Goucher's campus and taking college credits, like classes. Right. And being invited to speak, and I'm traveling to all these places. But that has nothing to do with knowing what it means to be 40, much less 40, and in a relationship with another woman who had not been incarcerated. And so, of course, that didn't last long either. Her demands were more or less around being family centered.
Okay.
I'm coming from a broken family. With a hate for my father, a son that was 4 days old when I went to prison. So he's literally 21 years old when I come home. And I'm struggling to even know what that's supposed to be. Right. And so I couldn't be what she needed me to be. And again, me making the decision as the king, the one with the penis, I decided like, well, you ain't for me.
Right.
But I don't know what's for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know what's for me. And then again, I wasn't far removed from that relationship. I was at a movie theater with another one.
Yeah.
And she's the woman I'm with now. The difference, I think, why you said you advise people when they come home, don't get in a relationship for 2 or 3 years with a woman, right? And I would agree with you, but I would have to add that if that woman had never been to prison.
Yeah.
Because my queen now served time herself.
Gotcha.
She did 15 years. And she's been out a little longer than me. We get to the point where you like what she said to me.
Right.
And she only knows it because she's had that process.
Exactly.
Somebody who hasn't had that process couldn't coach me through it. Right. Couldn't talk to me in a way where it's like, listen, babe, you're home now. You're not 19.
Yeah.
Right. You're not a baby. And even now, like we both find that prison shows up.
Exactly.
It shows up on her and I, right? And the thing that I love is that we can call it,
right?
And then we understand it, and then we can talk about it like this. So this is, minus the mics and the separation, the degree of separation here. We can actually talk and walk through it because she's walked the yard and had the mentality of, dog eat dog, right? But what it also allowed me to do, so my undergrad, my major is in sociology, but now I'm with a woman who's also had this experience. So I'm able to remove the penis from the conversation. And that was my problem. Is that I thought manhood and relationship was based on, did she come? Did I make her come? Did she moan loud enough? Did I please her? And those things, again, were based on the physicality of being mature enough to have sex or be able to go through that process, but not what comes after that, which is the bulk of life. Right. Those moments are fleeting moments, and everything else is the lasting ones. Right. I know that now.
But I'm gonna jump in. But I'm glad, because there's so much here to unpack. But I'm glad you said that, bro. So I really am. I'm glad what you share, because I think you really know. I think I know you've opened up yourself in a very vulnerable way to the audience. And I really want those who are tuned in, who are listening at this very moment, to really process and digest what you just shared with you, because what you talked about, and we want to put some language with those behaviors. We're talking about being in a selfish place, because when I went to prison, I talked about that, where even though I loved my daughter at the time, who was 4 years old, I loved my son who was 2 years old, but I didn't love them enough. But I loved what I was doing in my needs more than I loved their well-being. That was being selfish. I was a self-centered person. The world had to revolve around me. So even though I saw my queen, as you say, who was a woman, who had given birth to my 2 children, but at the same time, I was self-centered. It was about my needs. I lied to my queen. I would bring money home, and she wasn't, she was an intelligent woman, but she wasn't from the streets. She knew nothing about the streets. And so I was, at the time, it was acceptable on some levels. You can sell pot, you can sell marijuana, but I was robbing. But I didn't want to tell her because I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, and I didn't want her to think of me in that way. So I said, no, I'm just selling some money. But I got clothes for the kids, clothes for her, clothes for myself. But all right, I'm being deceptive. So what we're talking about character flaws that we had at a young age. And also you talked about the relationship with your father, or with your mother, and all of that part of your experience. Once you go into prison, now having to somewhat, in many ways, suppress that in some ways to deal with your immediate environment, with the environment that you're in, because now in that environment where those things can interfere, the relationship with fathers, relationship with the mother, relationship with your queen, but you suppress it in a way, because now you have to show whether you want to or not. You're literally having to be someone else inside the institution till you get to a place where you can be yourself. But this because you're up in there, and you don't know who's from who. So like you say, you're back up against the wall, trusting no one, but yet and still at the same time, being in there with wolves, becoming the wolves in many respects. So I definitely understand what you're saying, that once you get in that environment, that we're now having to take on, say, the personality begin to change somewhat, but at the same time, those experiences that you had prior to going to prison, you take that inside of prison with you, but those will just become suppressed. And like you said, even being inside the institution, still operating from, what do I need, and not necessarily what my queen need. And I'm glad you pointed out that moving from a position whereas that now is not the intimacy, not the sexual orientation, because we come out, we as men, we understand sex, we understand. I know how to be with a woman, but even in that case, that's questionable in many respects. It's saying knowing how to be with a woman. It's more than going to be just me, putting my penis inside her vagina, but I really know how to be with her. And so that's why. So when you said it made me think about is what happens outside of the bedroom. The intimacy because intimacy, emotional intimacy, psychological intimacy, the conversation. Intimacy varies on many levels, but are we mature enough to give the? And I'm thankful that you pointed that out, because until I never really thought about it from that perspective. Whereas that many of the women that all of them that relationship that I've been with, none have been in prison. So, and I've had the queen that I'm currently with now, my queen, the woman that I love very dearly, shout out to your Harmony, is that, she's never been in prison, but she's helped me to understand myself in a way, because of where she is spiritually, where she is as a woman, and being in tune with herself. But even though, she sees some of my behavior, and she look at me kind of like, because she doesn't understand. But your queen, who have had that experience, does understand. And there are so many brothers that we both know who are in relationships right now, whistles haven't gone to prison, and a lot of those sisters are saying, in many ways, what's going on with my king, because they don't understand. So I agree that in many respects you do have an advantage, but even with that advantage, getting to a place of understanding and maturity that would allow you to be able to meet your queen, who also has been incarcerated, in a balanced kind of way. And so, because so many sisters, who come into the table, who's in relationship with brothers who've been incarcerated, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they really don't know what they are engaging in. So I'm glad you was able to share those experiences from not only what you understood in terms of what you was doing, but being vulnerable enough to let the women who possibly listening to the brothers also listening, saying, "Hey, man, this is what I was going through. These things I had to face." And I think that's very key to what what you were saying. I just want, I didn't want to stop you saying, but I want to interject that piece in there, brother.
Yeah, I mean, and then I want to. So let's contextualize what I mean with intimacy with a woman, because that wasn't intimacy. If I be honest, right? And we doing that. We're talking about like how we come out and how we do that type of time, right? I got more intimacy out of masturbation. So actually going into the bedroom with any woman in the beginning was work. I was thinking about it. It was too much. I got women telling me relax, right? And
I ain't want to bring it up. Go ahead.
I'm high strung. I'm doing push-ups before I get there, right? and I'm shadow boxing and like I'm ready to go in the shower and have a standoff with some six guys, something, right?
Yeah.
And this is all true.
I did these things.
And I remember being in. Look, this is funny, but this is true. So I remember being in a location in the motorcycle shop. So I ride motorcycles, and there's a shop over here, East Baltimore. Black guy, black owned, whatever, out the street. But I remember ear hustling. I'm there getting my bike service, and I remember ear hustling. A guy say, "Man, if you really want to be successful and please the woman, you should go when you get there, go in the bathroom, put one in the toilet, and then go to it because it's going to take that much more time for you to get the second one."
Right.
And I remember thinking, why I ain't never think of this, right? Man, I'm trying, and this is just showing my immaturity and understanding what intimacy is, because it's not even about the climax. Now I know, it's about the journey, right?
That's right.
It could start with a foot massage, and not even in a climax.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
The climax for me sometimes is watching her fall asleep, knowing that she's relaxed, she's comfortable around me, she feels safe.
Right.
And that's intimacy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I didn't know that then. I'm thinking all of this is based on my ability to perform.
Right.
And I'm trying to be a better performer. I remember like getting to this woman's house and doing this, right? And then being unable to perform.
Yeah.
And then leaving there, and she's like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Right? But I left and I felt like such a failure. In my mind, I was saying, I don't even want to return to that. I don't even want to. I'm gonna chill on that, and I'm gonna focus on school. Right? And in that short period of time, me viewing pornography went up. Because that felt safe.
Right.
I want to be a man. I want to be the structure. I want to be this person that enters a room and everybody knows this guy's strong. Right.
Right.
And if I keep failing at this, too many people are gonna know. But again, not having a father to walk. Well, my father's alive. I'm actually, I drove up here from National Harbor. I'm down there with him now. Me, my fiance, my son, and his lady. We down there now, and we're doing little things like bond and walk through these processes, right? But man, I'm telling you, like, I remember leaving there and feeling like that's it. I'm gonna make every excuse in the world not to have sex, right? Because it felt like work,
right? Yeah,
I had masturbated for the better part of 20 years, so it's like, this feels more natural. You know what I mean? And it's like we used to say all the time to people who, I used to say to people who used to come see me on visits, like, if you want to understand prison, everything most things that's abnormal in society. Normal.
Exactly. It's right. That's right.
So something you might look at and be like, case in point, I tell it jokingly, a towel could be a dozen things. A toilet bowl could be a dozen things, right? When people see a towel hanging as a curtain, and when it gets old and faded, it becomes a floor mat,
right? That's
or a blanket,
right?
That's right. Or a robe, right? Or a weapon.
That's right.
All these things, or the rope that you use to hang yourself. Like when it becomes all these different things, now it's utilized and not what is a towel used for, is what is it utilized for. I had to learn that. So I wanted to add that because intimacy has morphed, has grown, has evolved for me now.
Right.
It's slower. Right. And again, like I said, I got to a place with a woman who's been where I've been. So she don't want to be pounded on, much less than I want to have to go in there and see that like work. Right. And I thought that was crazy. Like, I remember being with her, and again, I had went and worked out. I went to Planet Fitness. My first time, and I knew she was ready to give me this chance, right? Yeah. I went to Planet Fitness and I worked out for an hour. I mean, and even I'm talking about the way we work out in prison is insane. Yeah. Man, nobody works out in Planet Fitness like that. Yeah. We'll line up 8 sets of dumbbells, 4 barbells, run 4 miles in between every set.
Yeah.
And
Beast mode, man.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I went in beast mode and Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
And she don't notice to this. She know now. She gonna find out. And when I got to the hotel, I struck out, and I didn't know why. I had zapped my body. Again, no concept. I'm not lining it up. Hormone production, output. Like my hormones are going to repair muscle, damaged muscle. Now I'm not thinking like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like I walked in with the shirt a little smaller than my size, and I shaved and I got on cologne. And she like, you look good. And I'm like, yeah, all right, what should I do? And it's all about getting to the action.
Right.
And even at that moment, I remember and I knew that this woman understood something that maybe some of the other women I had been with didn't understand. Because in that moment where I'm like fighting it, I'm like, man, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right. I did everything. I don't drink, I don't drug. I'm like, I don't,
Yeah.
I could cut on a porno and it's gonna jump right to the action. What's going on?
Right.
And she grabbed me. She said, baby, relax. Just lay down with me. And I remember I didn't know what a nook was. I didn't know what, none of those things, right? Again, I'm 40, but my experience with relationships, men or women, is 19 with a 15-year-old mindset.
Exactly.
And she pulled me in, and I was like, I'm laying there, and I'm struggling to get relaxed and just go to sleep like she's doing, because I'm like, I'm failing, man.
Yeah.
I'm failing, and it's so easy. Why I think this is when I used to have thoughts about going back to the streets. It's easy to look like a man in the streets.
Yeah.
Because the only requirement is that you harm someone.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you've been harmed, it's so easy to harm other people.
Right. That's right.
We don't say that. We say it's just motivated by money, economy, and all of that. But just think about it. My name as Hussein is a lot less suppressed than my name as Will in the streets. Like what that means. Right.
That's right.
So, and I got it. And I'm gonna be honest, right? Babe, you probably ready to be like, this boy talks too much, right? But that didn't happen because I didn't just get it. It wasn't an aha moment for me that one time. That didn't happen one time, 2 times. It happened 3 times.
It was a process you was in.
It was but it also took for me to be with a woman who wouldn't put pressure on me because she understood I've been there. I know what he's going through, right?
Right, that's right.
And she said to me, relax, right? And then now here we are, with over more than a year together, a brand new baby, and you know what I mean? Not always having to have sex. And then when we do, it's not even just based on that. We can actually sit down and have a conversation that's not based on sex or bills, but it'll be like mind sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's eye contact. There may be some finger fondling on the on the hands, and there may be some hand holding, and those things now for me have gone into my bag of what I would call intimacy.
Right, exactly. And see, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things I talked about the queen that I'm with now, is that she's taught me in so many ways. Because when you talked about, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because it made me think about some other situations. I'm hoping I get time we can get into it. But I'm gonna start when you're saying that as men coming out of prison, obviously not coming out of prison, but just men that we approach it primarily from a physical place.
Right.
Like you say, we want to be buff, we want to be looking, we want to have sex for 45 minutes to an hour strong nonstop.
And most women are not even requiring
that. And
you're not pounding on me for 2 hours.
And if we don't make the woman have an orgasm or something, then we see it as failure. So there's a lot of orientation that we have received as children, as men,
or not,
that really has been misleading, has been erroneous. But having to work through that. But also when you talked about getting to a place where your queen help you to understand, say, well, look, not only just in not the physical aspect, but just having a conversation, talking to one another, engaging and touching. My queen has taught me those things. My queen, she's younger than I am. She's almost 30 years younger than me. But I've learned so much from her, and one of the things that I've learned from the fact that because one, she's in tune with herself. And I definitely get it when you talk about being able to connect with someone who have similar experience in terms of who've been incarcerated. But also I would add to that is that a lot of women, unfortunately, don't know who they are. and which add to the frustration of relationships because they're dealing with a man that don't know who he is, and now unfortunately she doesn't necessarily know who she is. I mean, she's a woman, but because maybe her own trauma, something that she have experienced herself, maybe relationship failure. So, and she hasn't worked on her process and really fully understanding what is it that I'm desiring from myself and what I'm desiring from the relationship. But the queen that I'm with today is that she's at a place in her life that where she's learned about herself, and she understands what she wants in a relationship. And she's allowed me, and she's been patient with me because, like you said, with me is that when you talked about 12 years of being without a woman. So I enjoy sex just as much as the next man does. But in terms of how I embrace it, it's at another, like this. The level is the sexual expression now is the physical part, but it is the conversation, it is the embrace. It is just you enjoy just seeing her, man, being around her and talking to her, and I really get high off of that being around because the physical part was a needed part, obviously in an intimate relationship, but there's so much more that I enjoy being when I'm around her that goes beyond just the physical part. So it's not always is that when I see her, the where is always that looking forward to being with her, but at the same time is that how do we engage in today to where, say, outside of the bedroom, that really has taken me to a spiritual place. To me, that really made, I would add, my sex better because I have that understanding as a pro, like you're saying. Because the one time I did see it like work, man, it was a lot of pressure I was putting on myself. Not saying coming from the woman, but just pressure I was putting on myself. And particularly being an older man, like you say, is just, just having those, that thinking where it's okay. The man got a younger sister. How am I going to please her? She gonna find somebody else. And so these are some of the things that I'm dealing with. Younger guys, they ripped, and I gotta do my extra push-ups, man. Try to get my chest up a little bit. But I'm saying, but these were things that I was bringing on myself, and my queen was looking at me in that way, but how I was looking at myself, and I was bringing that to our bedroom. I was bringing that to our relationship and saying, it didn't have anything necessarily to do with me, but growing to that place. And I'm glad you pointed that out. But when you talked about the pornography, where that became a substitute, because I know again of relationships that where some men they engage in pornography in a way that where the woman understanding, well, he won't touch me, but yet he will go over here and and embrace pornography. And you got a woman, right? So definitely I'm glad you pointed that out because there is a connection there. And so you definitely I'm laughing what you're saying because you just reminded me of my own experience, but also some of the experiences that women have shared with me about their relationship. And I want to say to the sisters or the brothers listening that really this is a really this dialogue right here is very revealing. The brother's been very vulnerable in terms of what he's sharing with you because it really is an insight. Because this behavior, even though we may look at that's that brother, but I'm saying in many ways this can be generalized to a lot of relationship what he's talking about. Because most of the men, not most of the men, all of us who went into that prison environment at a young age, and and became, let's say, emotionally stuck. We are having some similar, it may be different, but in many ways similar experiences that we're having within our relationship. So very important to pay attention, with what's being said here.
And if we really talk about it, the proof for that is like many of us come from, talking about many people who look like me coming out of cities like Baltimore, coming from broken homes.
Right.
So we're really growing up, the blind leading the blind.
Right. That's right.
And I told the story about the motorcycle shop to kind of show where and how individuals might be getting information about what it means to be the person they think they are.
That's right.
Right. That was intentional. Like I ear hustled this guy talking about pleasing a woman at a motorcycle shop.
Yeah.
Right. And he's a guy in community. I don't know what his background is, but he's a guy who brags about having multiple women.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so I know that these now, as a sociologist, I know that these are signs that people put on. This is the front stage of a self. Right. This is what I want you to see.
Right.
I want you to see this. Right. But the reality of it is I'm me backstage.
Right.
Where you don't see me.
Right. That's right.
So what I've come to learn in my community and even with myself is like the things that we talk about freely, braggadociously, like putting it out there. A lot of times those things are lies.
Yeah.
Or something we picked up along the way from a teacher who was illegitimate, who shouldn't have been teaching.
Right. That's right.
You know what I mean? And we grow up with that. We grow up and we put our spin on it. We make it sound so eloquent where you can't argue it.
Right.
But and as an individual, you'll leave from that conversation feeling like, man, those guys got it together, and I'm the one who's the outlier.
Right.
And then you're moving around out here in community feeling like you're apart from everything, caring about nobody but yourself.
Yeah, that's it. That's real, brother. And you know, because I can remember listening to Minister Louis Farrakhan, and one of the things he said in that particular lecture was, he says that, who are you listening to? Who are you lending your ears to? And that always stayed with me, because you're right. There are a lot of brothers, older brothers. I mean, to this day, because I can remember my own experience as a young kid, you know, and the conversation around it, where, you know, listening to, you know, the old heads talk about having a girl on each side of town, and how, you know, that was a measure of manhood. You know, I got a girl in the South, you know, South Anniston or West Anniston, but that was that was a symbol, say, within their development of manhood to them, and what it meant, even though it was erroneous, because, you know, just as a kid listening to that, you know, only just hearing, say, the surface of the conversation, but just running with that, you know, and not talking what that would involve, the conflict that can arise out of that, or the deception that's a part of that, the cheating that's a part of that. Only hearing they got having a girl east side of town. So now I take that. So as I become an adult, you know, I may have a girl in West Baltimore, may have a girl in East Baltimore, may have a girl in, you know, some other parts of the city. That behavior, those ideas I picked up when I was a young boy, and thinking that, no, this was just the way it's supposed to be. And unfortunately, a lot of brothers, unfortunately to this day, they'll have that mentality. And this is why they have girls in multiple places, but also they have children in multiple places.
So I also want to say, like, so two things are happening with that, right? So if I use this lens of critical race theory, which is like doing history, right? Through the history of what made us into what we are today, right? On one hand, an immediate look back would take me to slavery,
right?
And like this bull, right? And the black men being moved around and bred to a multitude of women,
right?
Right. So when I took time out to actually study the construction of race, this is what I came across. But if I would have stopped there, I would have thought that having more. So having more, I don't believe that having multiple women is a wrong thing, but I don't think it's for everybody. I do think that there's a having to be able to provide and all these other things that come in with that, and that's based out of, if I go back a little further, for Africa was Africa as a name, you know, before it was set out as a piece of land, right? That it's not uncommon to see a man between many women, right? But again, this is from a different level of performance as that person. It's not having multiple women, like one in East Baltimore, one in West, one in South, and you taking from them. You robbing them, and you passing this down to the children that's with them. You heartbreaking them. You can't afford that physically, emotionally, or financially. But you do it because braggadociously it makes you look like a man. That's so. There's an unpacking of that. So I don't mean. I mean, I have one woman because I know physically. Physically, I don't think I can handle two at this point. I'm not saying, but the next man might handle two. He might can afford to, and he might be at an emotional place where he can balance that, right? I'm not there. So I can't do that. But I'm not praising monogamy over polygamy or even making
I
an
agree.
argument.
See, I'm glad you pointed that out, because I agree with that. Is that where the difference was, is that, see, when we look at our socialization process, I would say we go back in times of our ancestors, is that not only that where there was a practice among, say, men having multiple wives, but it was something that was known. That was part of the community structure. That was a part of the socialization process, and the women was aware of what was happening, what was taking place, and they, for the most part, had to agree. Say if a king, or not say a king, but say a man wanted, say, to take on another wife, the family were involved. You know, so like yourself, I have nothing against polygamy, because I think socially, when we look at the African American, if we look at in terms of say race specific, when we look at our community, we have to begin to look at what is that we need to do, say, in today's time, that will reflect more of a healthy community, whereas having, unfortunately, too many women who don't have kings, who have children, and the father, say, has not provided for the kids. Or so what way that we begin to balance in a way that where a man, say, who's able, say, to have one, say, maybe have multiple wives, can't provide for them financially, can't provide for them emotionally. Then kind of reflecting what the Quran says. The Quran talks about that it's permissible for a man to have up to 4 wives, but one is only better for if you knew. And so, like yourself, emotionally, I would say financially, psychologically, I'm not in a place I understand that only to have, say, multiple wives, because I understand what relationship is now. But definitely, as I always share with my queen, is I think that as that the LeBron James, I'm talking about now, just speaking from an economic perspective, men who have wealth, who can take care of multiple sisters, who is young. And now his mindset, there may be something totally different. But if you look at just from an economic perspective, there are men who are economically in position that where they can have 1, 2, or 3 wives, provide for the family, provide security for the family. The family is safe. They don't have their basic needs, but able to provide a level of quality of life that otherwise they may not be fortunate to have. Sure. So I definitely agree that when we talk about polygamy, I think it is a conversation that we should have in our community, given the reality of what we're seeing today. Unfortunately, too many brothers who are incarcerated, too many brothers they're not incarcerated, but for right now they're not productive in their lives. And then you look at the level of homosexuality that where exists in our community. Then you look at the brothers who've been lost to murder in our community. So you have a lot of families out there who really say women are taking care of the children by themselves. And so what happened to those sisters? These are young women. So they just spend 20, 30, 40 years of their life and not ever become having the relationship with someone. So I think that's definitely a conversation that we can have, we can put on the table for another bullpen. But I agree with 100% is that I am in favor of polygamy. I think monogamy is something that we have embraced without necessarily knowing, fully understanding where it comes from, what we have embraced. But at the same time, I think definitely when we talk about just contrasting, see, our ancestors and their role in terms of polygamy, what it look like as opposed to what we talk about what was done to us. We're going through this Eurocentric slave indoctrination process that we're now being breeded and indoctrinated, whereas to make babies, not necessarily take care of the kids. And then that's another aspect of it in terms of but we're coming to awareness about this. So how do we cut that off? But definitely, I mean, those are conversations that are very relevant conversations, a conversation that we need to have in our community. And I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm looking at the clock that we got, almost. It went so fast, man. Yeah. But definitely, I want to say.
But I do want to say, I think these are some of the things that have survived down from the ancestors.
Correct. Yes,
that
sir.
we don't fully understand and practice correctly because we didn't have the teaching.
Right. That's right.
We don't go back. We don't. So the same code of it. We don't go back and fetch those teachings from the mouths of their writings, what they left us. Right.
That's right.
We don't do that, and so just like pouring out liquor, you see people. I'm talking about no understanding of an ancestor, but argue they don't even come from Africa.
Right, exactly.
I've been in these arguments.
Yeah, right? So have I. Yes, sir.
I come from Greenmount Avenue. Right? Take that, right?
Yeah.
And someone dies, what does he do? He pour out libations.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with people, and so they say it's in the music. And I say, well, a lot of our culture is in music. It's the way we preserved it. We've made song and dance of it. But it's also strategy for war and these other things going on. If you really listen to it,
that's right,
and go back in the time when it was being said, you will learn it wasn't just him, right? So, but again, that is a type of pedagogy of a person that you got to be aware of. You got to admit, and again, you saying I'm being vulnerable, and I would say that if I didn't be able to admit this first to myself, I can share it with people because I'm clear with myself what it was.
That's right.
You're gonna be stuck with it and constantly living it if you can't say it to yourself.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And they say, oh, you need therapy for this. You need smoking cessation for that. You need this for that. You need to stop, go back, and understand, how did I get here? I didn't make myself.
Right. That's right.
I didn't make myself. None of us develop in a vacuum. Right. We are the sum total of our environments.
That's right.
And the culture in those environments. So this I think this conversation is could be so many facets to it.
Yeah, it is.
But this one is a good one to start because I also hear women say, I have heard women say, I'll share a good man, but I won't have a single bum. Right.
Right. Okay.
And it's even that statement may be missing the fact that that individual who you labeled as a bum didn't make itself, right? And until you can fully understand who you are, to understand how we men and women, community, family, got here, you might not even want to deal with people. So that goes back, I'm saying, to the 2 to 3 years, even if you've never been to prison. Yeah.
No, that's those are true words, brother. Like you say, this conversation definitely has opened up other ideas about other conversations we can have to build on what we're talking about. And I just definitely want to again thank you for having the background that you're over the harbor over in the DC and coming over spending time.
I wasn't gonna miss it. I missed the first one.
No, but no, that's love, bro. I really appreciate that,
you
man.
You came in and seen us on the inside.
Yeah, but
didn't have to.
They
didn't pay you for that.
That's right. But like you said, we just love for us understanding that having been in that place, what can I do? That whatever I can bring to the brother, where they understand that, hey man, one, you ain't throw it away,
and
but you
did something. I don't even think you realized something you did one time. So when you first started coming, you would wear the suit or the pants and the hard bottoms, right?
Yeah.
There was a degree of separation for many of us, and we used to talk about this in the yard, right?
Yeah.
That we saw you were black, you were a man, right? But we didn't see us becoming you. And then one time you came in with a sweatsuit and the police gave you a hard time. You remember that?
Right.
You had on Tim's and a sweatsuit.
Right. Yeah, I remember
and
that.
And then the conversation after that was, man, like the real deal.
Yeah.
Because now we can see ourselves
that's right.
becoming this phoenix and rising from these ashes. And you did that and took that backlash from the guards, now treating you like us.
Right.
Instead of when you come in a suit and they like, how you doing, Mr. Ali?
Right, that's right.
How you doing, doctor?
Right, that's
and then
right.
You come in with this and they're like, I don't see no paperwork for you.
Right, exactly. You're right.
And you
that's
shared that with us.
That's true story.
So now, when I go and speak, depending on what the audience is, I do these things, right? I don't dress like this for my audience necessarily.
Right.
I might dress like this or down from this for an all-white audience.
Right.
I need you to understand something, right? That the book is in it, what's written on it, not the structure of it.
Right, that's right.
The book is in the ink.
That's right. That's right, brother. No, I'm glad you have that, but those are true words, brother. And like you say, I would, coming inside the MCIJ definitely was, it was healing for me as well. Because one of the things I've always learned and what Islam has taught me is that, sometimes you help yourself by helping others, and I'm learning how to give. And I know that one of the things that I hope that I share with the brothers coming inside the prison as well as out here is that you really that the healing start from many of us. We didn't give, whether we took physically took some money or something, or we took someone's time, or we took someone's feeling, but we didn't give back. And we have to learn how to give and give on all those levels that where now we're not taking, but we're allowing ourselves to be able to to communicate people in a different kind of way, but also having had that experience, also understanding that I know how easily it is, once you're incarcerated, for to throw up your hands for a lot of people, man, and just, and you get in that mindset, that cycle where you begin to believe that, this is what it's going to be. And my thing, is coming and saying, well, no, it doesn't have to be that way. There's, it's going to require work. One thing while we talking about, you got to put in the work on yourself, but it can be a different outcome. You don't have to buy into the thing that somehow, because this is where you are right now, this is your fate, you're sealed in this fate, that you can't make the changes within your life, that there's another side to it, but you have to be willing to put in the work. And I mean, I really respect and thank you for sharing that with me, because I little forgot about it, but you're absolutely right, man. And but that is real. You dress one way, people look at
things that you don't intend to do that make the change.
Yeah, exactly. And come in one way and people say, well, how you doing? They doctor come another way, then all of a sudden now I got to show ID. But that's real, man. But I definitely want to say to those who were able to tune in this morning, thank you all for your time. Thank you for your presence. Again, I really would like you to subscribe to this, to the bullpen, to share the bullpen with your family, with your friends. You may know someone, you may know a family or sister who may be engaged in relationships, say with a brother who's been incarcerated, and maybe she may not understand kind of what's going on. So definitely, I would say share this with her. The brother shared a lot of valuable information. A lot of jewels was in that conversation. I would say go back, listen to it 2 and 3, 4 times. I'm going to do that because there was a lot that was said there that's just really opened me up to some lot of different ideas. And brother saying. So you can tell people what you got going on, how they can get in contact with you, just whatever you want to leave with the people, brother.
Yeah, I mean, you could follow me on Facebook. So it's William Freeman, and if you go on Facebook, you'll see a lot of formerly incarcerated. This is my Superman shirt, but I wear a formerly across the chest, incarcerated across the back T-shirt every day of my life, so that I don't forget where I came from, so as not to repeat it. But so that's William Freeman. That's on Facebook, and then on Instagram it's Hussein Husayn 822, and the shirts are for sale. I got a few things going on, but if you would just start there, connect with me on Facebook or Instagram and message me, I message all people back. Again, this whole thing was about relationships. I do have a woman, so we ain't doing that.
Yes,
And
sir, brother.
grateful that I had this opportunity.
No, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And also, I want to thank Brother Minister Asar as well for allowing me, to use his space. The brother's been very gracious, very kind, allowed us, to use his space for the bullpen. Again, Brother Minister Asar has a lot going on. You can Google TNET and kind of see a list of the things that take place in his organization. The brother is a mental health therapist. He's a minister. He's an advocate within the community. The brother, is a leader within the community. So definitely, I would encourage you to reach out to the brother, learn more about what the brother's doing here. And what you see behind me has a beautiful shop. You come in and patronize the brother business. Myself this is Man Behind Bars. This is my brand to where right now 2022 is I'm building differently into, and what I mean by that is that the plan is to start my own mental health organization called Men Behind Bars. Again, working with families, brothers and sisters and families of people who've been incarcerated, who coming home, and just helping with their mental health process. Because the mental health component is a very key component, to helping brothers begin to hopefully think differently, change their lives, and begin to change their community. But if you want to reach me, find out more about what I'm doing, you can hit me up on like my Facebook. You put in Max Ragland at the Facebook page. You can put in Men Behind Bars, men underscore behind bars underscore on Instagram. My email is fresh air 112194 at gmail.com. I've graduated. I moved it from the Hotmail. People kept ragging me about having a Hotmail account. I'm old school, but I got a Gmail account now. So it's fresh air 112194 at gmail.com. Hit me up, man. Definitely something you may want to know about, more about kind of what work that I'm doing, what Brother Hussein is doing, Brother Sarge is doing. Definitely put you in contact. Again, thank you for your time. It's 11:05. I appreciate your time, but time is very valuable, so I don't want to take it beyond what the required time. But again, as always, the last Sunday of each month can be different topics, different discussions. Gonna be brothers like this right here. We're gonna bring some sisters on. It's the bullpen. It's about changing lives of ex-felons, and this is what we do. Be safe. Have a great week. Love you all. Peace.